So let's solve another problem on Leetcode today. So if you're preparing for your interviews, I guess there are tons and tons of problems out there which you can solve. But there are some commonly asked problems which are quite important and might give you insights into solving a pattern, in different kind of problems. So in this, let's have a look at this problem. So the problem says it's Leetcode 161 one edit distance. So we are given with two strings s and t. Return true if they are both one distance apart. Otherwise return false. A string s is said to be one distance apart from a string t if you can insert exactly one character into s to get t, or delete one character from s to get t, or replace exactly one character from s with a different character to get t. Right. So they have also given this example: string 1, which is s, is equal to ab. Then there is another string acb. The explanation is given that we can add c to s. That means they are one distance apart. So if we edit the strings, string 1, and let's say add the character c, we can get the string acb. Similarly, they have given another example when we have both the strings at empty, which would return false, because obviously let's say there's no character in both of the strings. So even if we add character to like we make exactly one edit, like delete, add, or exchange, switch the character, it's not going to make them equal, which makes sense. So how do we solve this problem now? So for that, I guess let's try to explore the options or the solutions we might be able to come up with this one. So because it's a string, obviously we have to compare the characters with each other. So first string has AB, then second string has ACB. So let's say we start comparing the character from the first index. We compare A to A, then B to C. We see there's a difference, and if there is a difference, we are okay with that, because we are saying that we can replace the character if there is a difference. So we are okay till now. But now what? Like, we reach the end of the string and there's no character left to compare it with B. So what do we do in that case? So we can probably check the last character that we have in the longer string with the last character of the shorter string. In that way, we will know that if we add or if we replace the different character that was a difference here, can we form the string. For example, if we replace B with C, and like instead of like moving B to the end, we can get ACB in this case. So yeah, that will do our logic there. Let's look at another example just to try to verify this logic. So let's say instead of having like variable length or different length strings, we had something like this: X, E, C, and then we had A, E, C. So in that case, whenever we see a difference, we can say that there is a chance we can replace one character and make them equal. So this is fine. We can follow the same logic here. We'll continue and continue comparing till end of both of the strings. Then let's take another example here. So let's say we have a string that is having more differences in the characters. So let's say I have A, R, R, and there is A, E, C. So we found the first character is matching, we are good. Then we found second character not matching, which is fine because we can allow a single character that's not matching. Then we go to next index in this string, and then we compare it with the other string. So we got another mismatch. So we can't make this string equal or same characters unless we do more than one edit. So we'll have to actually replace or delete Actually, if we are going to delete, we'll have to delete from both of the strings, so we can't make it. So in that case, our answer would be false. Okay, so I guess if we do this with this logic, we can probably do it. So how do we implement it? So we can probably have two counters, I for the first string and let's say j for the second string, right? Then I will be 0 at first and be 0, right? And also we need to keep track of how many unequal characters we found. So because we need just one unequal character, we can probably just have a single boolean value saying is it unequal, which will be false by default, right? And yeah, we continue comparing, we increase, so a is fine, then we increase the number, we go to RAC, RE I mean, and then we get unequal to true. Then we go to the next character in both the strings, R and C. Then we see they're different. So because previously we had is unequal, we have to basically mark this as a failure or return false in that case. All right, so let's try to implement this logic. Also remember when we said, like, if there is length difference, that case also we need to handle where we compare the last character of the second string with the last character of the first string. Basically, in that case, my I will be from 1, it will be at 1, and then the j would be 2 here. But I can explain in the code. So let's do it. All right, so I is equal to 0, similarly j is 0, and now we have to go through the whole list. So for that we can write a while loop where we say while I is less than length of s and j is less than length of t. So what's our base case? Our base case says that whenever we have a different character, we need to keep track of it in this boolean value, and we have if we have that boolean already set, we simply return false. So let's write that base case. Equal, there is spelling mistake here. Yeah, it's equal to false at the start. So if my current s character is not equal to current t character, I'll check if my is unequal already set. That means I found basically two differences, which is not valid for our result, and I return false. The flow ends here. In that case, this is our base case. Then if that's not the case, then we need to record our inequality of the character in this boolean value that we have. And let's say we continue like this. But remember, we said that when we have differing lengths by 1, why 1? Because let's say the string is one string is like bigger by 1 or larger than one character from the other, then that answer is straightforward no, because or straightforward false, because that clearly means we can't make a single edit, and our problem says one edit distance. So in that case, I guess we can simply return false. So let's say if length of s minus length of t is greater than 1, and obviously we'll have to do the absolute value of this, otherwise it might happen that the order is different. Then I say false. There's one more invalid input that we might get is in which, like, let's say both the strings are equal. So I guess we can return false in that case also. So if s is equal to t, return false. Right. So back to our while loop. So we found that character was unequal, and let's say we mark it true, and then outside of the if condition, if block, we always need to increment our pointers, because otherwise it will keep on executing to infinity and it will basically time out. All right, so this is fine. What this will do is, like, for every unequal character, it will check if unequal is set and return false if that's the case. If not, then it will set the unequal flag to true, and then in the next execution it will be marking it unequal basically, and then that's fine. But I guess we also need to return true in this case, because if this condition never triggered, then that means we never found an unequal, which would probably never happen because we are checking for this condition here. But anyways, let's just have this default return true. There might be a case which might return here, but probably I'm missing it. Right, so this should do it. But remember, we said when the character is different by one length in both of the strings, then we need to come back to the previous character of the smaller string. So I guess we need to add that check, and that check will be when we are unequal on the character. So for example, let's say we had ACE. So in this case, because A and C are same, we won't be setting the unequal value, and it won't even check the last character, because we know that the length is exactly differing by one character, and that means our answer is true, which probably, I guess, this is the case. And yeah, so that's fine. But there's another case that we talked about where the length is varying and the last character is different. So in that case, we can compare the last character of the shorter string with the last character of the larger string. But how do we do that in this loop? Because this is going to keep increasing in an incremental order. So I think we can add a check here, which says if length of s is less than length of t, that means our first string, which is s, is smaller than the second string, so we can reduce our pointer by 1. So in the next iteration, it again chooses the last character, basically make this increment ineffective. So that's something like this. Otherwise, it could be opposite also. So we say if length of t is smaller than length of s, then we do the same thing with our j pointer. Right, yeah, and I guess this should handle it. So let's run through the code, because it's always good to understand the code in actual interviews before you try to run it, or some interviews don't allow you to run them. So let's say we have these two strings. We have initialize our pointers 0 0, then we have the flag unequal, which will default to false. So what we are doing, the first line in the code we have is we are checking the absolute difference of the length of the string, which will be 1 in this case, because this is 2, this is 3, so 3 minus 2 or 2 minus 3, absolute value will be 1. It's not greater than 1. Also, the strings are not equal, so we don't enter in this if condition, we continue. Like I said, initial values, then we go into the while loop. Because my I is less than the length of the s, and same with my j is less than t because it's 0, we check if the current character is equal or unequal, basically. So we say if it's not equal, then we go do this thing. But the first character here is a, then we have a, so it's equal, so we don't even enter into this condition, and we simply increment the counters or the pointers. I have 1, fine. Let's go to the next character. So it will be, for the s it will be e, then for t it will be c. So now we found there's a character difference between the strings. So we enter in this condition, we see if is unequal set already. It's not set yet, so we set it now. So we say unequal is equal to true. So now we found the unequal character, and now we are checking the lengths of the string. So if length of s is less than t, which is true in this case, so it will be reducing the length of the value of I by 1. So 0, Then because if is triggered, the else if won't execute, and we again increment the counter. So my I goes to 1, and then I have my j which goes to 2. That means we are pointing at e again for the first string because it was smaller, and then j again, not again, I mean my j will be at 2, which is e. So we found a similarity. So this time we come to this block, we check if the strings are not equal, or the characters are not equal, then they are equal in this case. So we don't enter this if condition, we increment the counters. Now my I goes to 2, my j goes to 3, and like we can see, it's exceeding our length for both s and t. So the while loop doesn't even doesn't even execute, and then this is the case where we return true. Yeah, so that's how you walk through the code. We can do the time and space complexity analysis, but before that, let's try to run and check if you have done any errors in this. Yeah, looks like we have. Right, so yeah, always remember to correctly use your pointers. All right, 2 cases passed, and I guess we can probably yeah, it's funny that we missed such a basic test case. So how do we check for this one? I guess, yeah, very verbose check, but let's just say if length of s is equal to 0 and length of t is equal to 0. There could be a better way we can write this condition, but yeah, I guess for now. Oh, why didn't work? Oh, actually it should be an or. Right, yeah, it worked now. Let's try to submit it. Okay, so it's saying that C and C should be returning false. Yeah, and we are fine with that. So we said that here, right? If s and t is equal, then we should return false. And why it's returning true? I guess it should be or, not and. So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, nice. We solved it. So let's talk about the complexity of time and space here. So we had we have this nice feature if you are using a premium version, so you can click on this and see the complexity. So it said O of n, but let's actually look at the code and see how much it is in real. So we are traversing all the characters in both the strings, right? So that should be usually O plus n, right? Because we are going through both of those characters. But remember, we are just going in the single iteration with from both the strings. So it could be O of n or m. But because we always consider the worst case time complexity, we can basically assume that if my m is bigger than my time complexity is O of m, where m is length of first string, or n, which is length of next string. So we can say O of max n m. So whichever is max, that's our worst case scenario in this case, and then we have to traverse that many characters that many times. Space complexity, what extra variables are we using? So we have our ij, which doesn't count as extra space because it's just a singular variable. Same with this boolean value, it doesn't use any extra space, so we are not using any extra space in there. So we can say it's O of 1. Yeah, and that's it, we solved it.